SafeMusicList.com, royalty-free music for marketing and promotional videos.
Yeah, good morning. You're welcome once again to another edition of the Newspaper Review at our favorite station, the Alore Radio, transmitted from the GSM Studio, Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism, Secretariat Agodi, Ibadan. I am Temitope Ojo. I shall be hosting you this morning on the edition of Newspaper Review. I have the Punch newspaper with me this morning. And firstly, I'll go through the headline before we go into the depth of the newspaper this morning. My headline starts from the death toll rises as Lagos probes collapse. Owner Pastor Meze. Also, we have at the front page, NBA Petitions Commission. Panel over Malami magistrate rules in Odele's home raid. Council battle over final forfeiture of $899,600 found in Abuja apartment. Also at the front page, we have Army roadblock return. Terrorist kidnapper lays siege to EFCT. Anambra decide every security deployment not to intimidate voters. IG, US threatening visa ban, others on poor violence sponsors. We also have at the front page, subsidy payment costs 864,7 billion naira in 9 months. NNPC report. We have Ekiti women jail 10 years for assaulted pregnant neighbor forcing labor. Also at the front page, in Abuja invaded demand 300 million naira for Dr. Prof's family member. Army can find terrorists, others with 579 billion naira, COAS tells Zenith. Rebel face to find money in Kwara community. Macha resident rapes minor. We'll draw the curtain for this moment. When we return, we'll go into the details of today's newspaper pages. Thank you for staying tuned.
omi tuntun ti ru ẹja tuntun wà ní odò ẹtún máa gbá.
kí ló dé tóun tó dáa kì í kún ẹlẹ́gàn lójú. ìjọba ẹnjìnìà Ṣèyí Mákindé ọ̀fẹ́ràn ṣẹ́kárí mi ni ṣùgbọ́n bọ́lọ̀ ń bá rí ọ nítorí àfẹnuyọ sùsìsì tí ń dùn lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ yéèyàn náà rí ọ ọ̀pọ̀ àṣeyọrí lórí ìdàgbàsókè níjọba ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ti ṣe ẹ̀já sọ díẹ̀ mbẹ́. ó pèsè ọkọ̀ lárìnká sọ̀fin tó tó agbègbè iṣẹ́ ibi kárì ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ àfikún àtìròyìn lágbára fáwọn operation boss dáyítẹ̀ ìwéré ilé àtàgọ́ rẹ̀ ó fi kún agbára ẹ̀rọ ayélujára bí òwìwí gbàwòrán àṣẹlẹ̀ pàjáwìrì sílẹ̀ ńbàdàn commissioning of mobile squadron unit lágọ̀ọ́ rẹ̀ ó dáwọ́lé múgbòòrò ètò ọrọ̀ ajé nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ nípasẹ̀ àgbẹ̀ farm of estates lákùfò èrúwà àti láwẹ́ pípín ohun ọ̀gbìn fẹ́gbẹ̀rún mẹ́wàá àgbẹ̀ asphalt and equipment níjàyè fífọwọ́síwé mi ni mo ní nǹkan mi sí ọ̀fọ̀ lóṣù péréte ẹgbẹ̀lẹ́gbẹ̀ mílíọ̀nù fún dènà covid-19 àbítọ̀nà dají road lautech vehicle inspection center ìdíàpẹ́ ọ̀nà máníyà ìjàyè sí sẹ́yìn àtàwọn agbègbè dágbègbè níbàdàn ó gbówó oṣù ọdún mẹ́rin kalẹ̀ fún ìṣẹ́fẹ̀yìntì àwọn olùkọ́ gbogbo ọ̀ọ́dúnrún òṣìṣẹ́ dádúró lọ́nà àìtọ́ ló gbà padà tó sì ń sanwó wọn déédéé abẹ́ gbáriwo ó káṣọ ẹgbẹ̀rún mẹ́ta owó tóbi ń san ẹ̀kọ́ dọ̀fẹ́ ó pín ìwé ó tún kíláàsì ṣe ó fa látẹ̀kì padà di tìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ àtúnṣe pẹ̀lú ohun èlò fún ilé ìwòsàn alábọ́dé lọ́pọ̀ bíi mélòó láwà ká tábọ́ ara ẹni tí ń pẹ̀gàn ìjọba Ṣèyí Mákindé má pẹ̀lú ọ̀bọ̀jẹ̀kọ ohun gbogbo tí ń ṣe lọ́wọ́ ní ẹja jọ wò.
Ọ̀yọ́ State Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism.
You're welcome back. To start with, on the page of the Punch newspaper this morning is the story at page 2. NBA Petition Commission panel over Malami magistrate rules in Odele's home raid. The National Executive Council of the Nigeria Bar Association has resolved to file a petition against the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami San and Mr. Emmanuel Inyana, the Chief Magistrate in Abuja, who issued a search warrant for security officials to search the home of a Supreme Court judge, Justice Mary Odele. A top member of the NBA NEC told the Punch newspaper on Wednesday that Malami will be reported to the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee and the Legal Practitioner Privilege Committee, which will consider if the AGF should be stripped of his title of a senior advocate. He said, and I quote, "What we discover is that a lot of the attack on the judiciary are being sanctioned by Malami. The NBA believes that enough is enough, so the NEC will dispatch petition against Malami A communique will be issued soon. A member of NEC said, an end of quote. Find the rest of the story on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. NBA Petition Commission panel over Malami. Magistrate rose in Northerly's home raid. And our next story will lead us to page 4 of the Punch newspaper. The story about a collapsed building. Ikoyi building. Death toll rises as Lagos probes collapse. Owner Pastor missing. The death toll in the 21-story building they collapsed on Monday on Gerard Road in the Ikoyi area of Lagos State has increased to 21. The building crumbled around 2 p.m. when workers were on the site. The Punch Metro had reported that many people were trapped in the rubble, including the managing director of Fourscore Heights Limited, Mr. Femi Oshibono, who owned the building. The state governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who described the incident as a national disaster on Wednesday, confirmed that 21 persons were brought out dead from the rubble. Family denies access. Some families searched for their loved one on Wednesday lamented that they were denied access to the mainland hospital mortuary, Yaba, where the recovered body were taken to. A man, Jude Ogochukwu, who complained about not being allowed to identify his relation, said his family needed early closure. He said, I went to the IDH yesterday and today, Wednesday, when the deputy governor said we could go there, but it had been terrible. They refused to allow us to see the people there. They refused to allow us to have early closure. We need to know early. This thing can take 2 weeks to get it done. We are in serious pain. End of quote. Ikoyi building. Death of residents as Lagos probes collapse. Owner Pastor missing. The next is page 8 of the Punch newspaper this morning, where I find headline 2023 presidency. Northern Elders make a U-turn to work with all the regions. The Northern Elders Forum on Wednesday make a U-turn on its earlier position on Northern presidency in 2023 with a promise that the North will work with other ethnic groups in Nigeria to produce a competent leader that will restore confidence in the system. The organization also noted that the ongoing debate about light-belly bandits as terrorists is a waste of energy, adding that it will only support such if it will lead to improved security. The spokesperson for NEF, Dr. Akim Bala Ahmed, said this in a statement on Wednesday after a meeting convened by its leader, Professor Ango Abdullahi. The statement said the meeting was also of the view that scrapping of the State Independent National Electoral Commission should be included in the ongoing constitutional amendment. It reads partly, and I quote, the forum salutes all Nigerians who sought to restore a level playing field to our democratic system. It is now left to politicians and other leaders to conduct the type of politics that build into the real equity, fairness, competence and justice through inclusive campaign and responsible approach toward the 2023 election. The people of the North want to work with other Nigerians to produce a competent and committed Nigerian leadership that will restore confidence in a country, capacity to survive and rebuild itself for the generation. 2023 presidency, Northern Elders make a U-turn to work with other regions. I'm on to page 9 of the Punch newspaper where a headline says, Army can find terrorists ordered with 579 billion naira COAS Tanzania. The Nigerian Army on Wednesday appealed to the federal government to exempt it from the annual envelope budgeting being adopted by the Federal Ministry of Budget Economic Planning. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, made the appeal when he appeared before the Senate Committee on Army to defend the 2022 budget. Yahya told the panel that the sum of 579 billion naira approved for the Nigerian Army for the 2022 fiscal year was grossly inadequate to fight terrorism and banditry in the country. He said, and I quote, in preparing for year 2022 budget, the Nigerian Army proposed about a sum of 710 billion naira. However, the Federal Ministry of Finance budget and National Planning budget solely reduced it to 579 billion naira. This reduction will impair the capacity and tempo of the Nigerian Army in carrying out its constitutional duty, particularly the ongoing war against the Boko Haram terrorists and other criminality across the country. The National Assembly should prevail on the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning to exempt the Nigerian Army from the current budget ceiling or envelope allocation system. It therefore passionately appeal to the Senate Committee to impress it on the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning to begin the release of year 2020 Army capital budget from the first quarter 2022. Army can fight terrorists order with 759 billion naira COAS Tanzania. And from there, we will move to page 22 of the Punch newspapers. 48 Army roadblock returns terrorist kidnappers message to Abuja. Amid incessant attack by bandits and terrorists on the outskirts of Abuja, Nigeria. Army officials and policemen on Wednesday mounted roadblock at entry block of the city, causing traffic and congestion. This is just as kidnappers on Wednesday demanded 300 million naira from the release of lecturers and their relatives abducted at the University of Abuja on Tuesday. On Tuesday, armed men stormed the University of Abuja, abducted 6 individuals, including lecturers. 3 days earlier, the vice principal of the junior secondary school Yebu in the Kali Area Council of Abuja was also abducted. In what seems like a direct consequence of the attack, policemen and soldier mindset roadblock along entry and exit points of the FCT. Motorists and commuters plying the Abuja-Kebbi Expressway were stranded as a result of the traffic snarl which was caused by the roadblock. Find the rest of the gist on page 22 of the Punch newspaper. Army roadblock return terrorist kidnappers message to Abuja. I'm still on the same page of 22 of the Punch newspaper today's edition. Every security deployment not to intimidate voters, says IG, warns IPOB. Inspector General of Police Mr. Usman Baba has warned non-state actors, including the indigenous people of Biafra, to stay clear of Saturday's election in Anambra State, stating that the heavy deployment of security to Anambra State for Saturday's election was not meant to scare voters. He said the police would deal decisively with anybody who would try to foment trouble during the exercise. Baba, who was speaking on Wednesday during stakeholders meeting, said the election security was designed to cover the Free Senatorial District of the state and have 21 local government areas, 326 ward and 5,720 polling units across the state. He said the massive deployment is not designed to intimidate the law-abiding as been insinuated in some quarters. On the contrary, it is to reassure them of adequate protection by disarming misguided politicians' elements as well as non-state actors that might be bent on threatening the election through acts of armed violences or other conduct that violate the provision of the Electoral Act. You can get the rest of the story on page 22 of the Punch newspaper. Every security deployment not to intimidate voters, says IG, warns IPOB. On the page of Punch newspaper this morning, the 39th page, we find a story that says cancer battle over financial forfeiture of $899,600 court receiving ruling. Justice Zainab Abubakar of the Federal High Court Abuja has reserved ruling on the application by the Economic and Financial Crime Commission for the final forfeiture of $899,600 to January 31st. Justice Giwa Ogunbanjo had on December 4, 2019, ordered the interim forfeiture of the money upon an expected application by the EFCC, which asked the money recovered from the apartment at Sigma Apartment on Embu Street of Aminu Kano Crescent to Wuse to Abuja be forfeited to the federal government, being suspected proceeds of illicit activities. In granting the application, the court had directed the EFCC to publish the order of interim forfeiture for any person interested in the funds to show the cause why it should not be finally forfeited to the federal government. At the resumed hearing on Wednesday, Ekele Inehako counsel for the EFCC moved an application for the final forfeiture of the sum. He informed the court that all the parties had been served with the process. Counsel to the respondent Blessing Anasodo, Isman and Ademola Adeleye for the first, second and third reading respondent respectively, informed the court that they had filed their responses to the applications. The counsel for the first response urged the court to set aside the interim forfeiture order and order the release of the funds to acclaimed one Abdullahi Suleiman. But Ihenocho told the court that the commission filed a counter affidavit to the first respondent's motion, urging the court to dismiss the plenary objection. A statement by the EFCC spokesperson Wizzy Uwujeren said the counsel for the second and third respondent did not oppose the relief sought by the EFCC to forfeit the fund. Find the headline on the page 39 of the Punch newspaper. Counsel battle over final forfeiture of $899,600 courts reserving ruling. On the same page of 39 Punch newspaper of today's edition, another story says Ekiti woman jailed 10 years for assaulting pregnant neighbor for the labor. And Ekiti State High Court sitting in Ado Ekiti on Wednesday sentenced a 45-year-old Yemisi Najimu to 10 years imprisonment for causing harm to a pregnant woman. Najimu was tried on 3 charges bordering on attempt to murder, act intended to cause grievous harm, and occasioning harm. According to the charge, the defendant on 26 August 2019 at number 2 Afro Akiyede Estate, Odoado, Ado Ekiti, did attempt to murder, causing grievous harm and assault on Bose Diojo, contrary to section 321 and 322 and 355 of the Criminal Code, Lockup 6116 Laws of Ekiti State 2021. In a statement, the victim, who said she was 18 months old pregnant at the time, said Najim and her son were beating her child, after which she intervened to stop the fight. According to her, the mother and son descended on her, pushed her and fell on the ground with her 8-month-old pregnancy, which led to abstract delivery in the hospital through surgery. The prosecutor, Dolapo Oyewole, called 5 witnesses to prove the case and tendered statements of the victim and the defendant, as well as 1 cement block and a medical report. You can get the rest of the gist on page 39 of the Punch newspaper. Ekiti woman jailed 10 years for assaulting pregnant neighbor for the labor. Then we'll go to page 46 of the Punch newspaper with an headline: Benzema double as Los Blancos make history. Karim Benzema scored twice as a below-par Real Madrid did just enough to beat Shakhtar Donetsk on Wednesday and move within sight of the Champions League last 16. Benzema opener made Madrid the first club to score 1,000 goals in the European Cup, but this was far from a vintage performance from Carlo Ancelotti, who were frequently whistled by the home fans at the Santiago Bernabeu. That is the sporting news found on page 46 of the Punch newspaper. And from there we shall be dropping the curtain of today's edition of the newspaper review. You can reach us on the 09039853731 for any of our programs. You can also log on to aloreradio.com. See tomorrow when you shall be meeting our colleagues on another edition of this favorite program, Newspaper Review. I am Temitope Ajawo. I say stay tuned and be blessed for the day. Bye.